Good morning, welcome. This is the Municipality of Tweed Committee of Adjustment and Planning Committee meeting, March 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. The Municipality of Tweed recognizes that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Huron-Wendat, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, cultures of the First Nation, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Begin with the introductions of the committee and staff. Lucas, would you start?
Lucas Wales, Deputy Clerk, Zoning Administrator.
Laurie Crellin, Clerk.
Peter?
Peter Relfitt, Counselor.
Roxanne Bailey.
Phyllis Savoy?
Jack Robinson.
And Jim Pedersen has sent his regrets for this meeting. So the procedure for the meeting, we have an applicant present with us. We will handle the public meeting first. We'll then adjourn the public meeting. There's a couple of items of planning committee business, and then we'll go into the committee of adjustment meeting. Okay. First item of business will be the agenda, which was distributed to the committee. All those in favor of accepting the agenda is carried. Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, Peter and Roxanne. Okay. Disclosures of pecuniary interests. We'll start with Roxanne.
Yes, minor variance A1/25.
Okay, and Jack?
Public meeting 6-1.
Okay. So those are noted for the record. Great. Next item of business will be the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting being February 28th. Mover and seconder, moved by Roxanne, seconded by Jack. Errors, omissions, comments, concerns, business. Hearing none, all those in favor? Minutes are carried. Okay. I'd like to now call the planning meeting for the zoning amendment ZA4/25. The disclosures that have been indicated are Jack Robinson for this file. He's going to leave the room. Okay, there are no applicants or neighbors, presenters. No one is attending. So the purpose of the meeting then will be to discuss this application and note that it will also, it provides the public with an opportunity for council, because this decision, this will be a recommendation to council that will go to council on.
Recommendation from the committee will go April 8th.
Okay, so April 8th, the decision will be made at that time. Applicants will be notified of the decision following this meeting. Okay, so the application, applicants are Pat and Zita Goulet, 375 Hungerford Road. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to change the zoning of a 0.437 acre parcel from residential first density special exception 8 zone to residential second density special exception 5 R2-5 zone. And the special provisions would be that permit uses shall be limited to residential second density. A semi-detached dwelling and accessory garage shall be permitted within the wellhead protection zone 1 overlay. Home-based businesses, home-based industry shall be prohibited at this location. The setback from the neighboring mineral extract FMX property on the north side of Hungerford Road is 92.3 meters. The rezoning of this parcel to R25 would provide for the appropriate zoning for the size of proposed use of the parcel. If I have a mover, Roxanne, seconded by Peter. Discussions, concerns from committee members?
Nicely located.
Yeah. And all the appropriate measures at the time then would be investigated in terms of access, things like that, but they will come at a later date. So be it resolved, recommended that Committee of Adjustment and Planning recommend that council approve zoning amendment ZA4/25 for the following reasons as stated. Previously read. That's nobody participating if you hear that. Previously read into the record. All those in favor? Zoning will move forward to council for approval. Okay. Come on back in, Jack. That's weird. Okay, other items for consideration of the planning committee, FYI, were for the residential zone review council report that has gone to council. Peter said that council, received the report and had no concerns. And the winter deer habitat report is included in the package. As requested, we'll need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Roxanne, seconded by Peter. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment Planning received the staff report on winter deer habitats, and it was included in the package. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, that, I should have concluded the public meeting prior to that. Okay. Minor variances, number 8, to Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, Roxanne has declared a conflict. So because Peter doesn't sit on Committee of Adjustment and Planning, the issue of quorum. So from the act, it reads, where the number of members who, by reason of the provisions of this act, are disabled from participating in a meeting is such that a meeting, the remaining members are not of sufficient number to constitute a quorum, then despite any other general or special act, the remaining number of members shall be deemed to constitute a quorum, provided such number is not less than 2. 1, 2. So Jack and I will be the only people allowed to vote on this. Mr. McMurran, would you like to come forward? If you could introduce yourself, please, and then we'll get to your application.
Tyler McMurran, the owner of 102241 Ontario Inc., which owns the property at 325 Victoria Street.
Okay, so for the record, the minor variance A125 applicant, JT McMurran, director, location 325 Victoria Street North. The purpose of the application is to provide relief from section 15.3 F2 of bylaw 2012-30 as amended by bylaw 2023-31 to allow a minimum commercial square footage of 70%, which has been reduced from 75 to facilitate a rear ground floor dwelling. Jack, you move it to put it forward. I'll second it.
Yep.
Okay, so if you would care to make your presentation to the committee, we have questions, concerns.
Okay, there's an area at the back of the law practice, the commercial space that's occupied by my law practice, that it's rough space. It's about 550 square feet roughly, and it's largely unfinished. We would like to utilize that space. We have no use for it as far as storage or what have you. Storage is done off site. What we propose is putting an apartment back there, which will alleviate some of the cost in carrying the building. We would also incorporate a hallway, which would allow us to access the basement where all our cables are, phone cables and so forth. And the apartment would be ground floor. It will be finished at quite a high level, so it will attract a positive tenant. It'll be on ground floor, so that if someone had some mobility access or mobility issues, they would potentially have access. It would potentially keep a senior, and I'm thinking who would like to remain in Tweed, but doesn't have the opportunity. And we see it all the time in our practice, people having to move to Belleville and elsewhere because there's no accommodation for them. Who would potentially shop locally. The space would be utilized where it's otherwise, it would just remain vacant, and which, you know, would not be a good thing in an urban area. And it would generate, it would increase the value of the building and thereby increase the tax revenue for the municipality.
Thank you. Jack, do you have questions or comments?
No, I went over the agenda and I don't really have a problem. You got adequate parking
Yes.
and it is a minor variance, I guess 5%, so I would support it.
Okay, I have the same comments as Jack. Parking was my initial question, but upon review, there's lots of space down there. there was nothing came,
The only comments were received were from Quinny Conservation. They came in after the agenda was published and there was no concerns from the Conservation Authority.
okay, good. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
Going to be changing the footprint of the offices out front. It's going to remain the same.
Remain the same.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, nothing further to address from the public, from staff, from the committee. Okay, so be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application A125 to provide relief from section 15.3 F2 of bylaw 2012-30 as amended by bylaw 2023-31 to allow minimum commercial square footage of 70%, reduced from 75% to facilitate a rear ground floor dwelling. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? It is carried. Lucas, can you explain the process from here?
Yeah, we'll issue a notice of decision signed by the Committee of Adjustment members present. That decision will be in effect as of today, and there's a 20-day appeal period that has to complete before that minor variance is final. Once that appeal period is completed, the variance is final and you could obtain the permits to do the renovations.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we will welcome Roxanne back to the meeting. She'll be back by 5. Okay, staff updates.
Through the chair to the committee, sorry, we were having a bit of a tech issue there when we were reviewing the reports, but I think the only major staff update is the residential zone review was received by council on Tuesday night and passed. So we'll be entering the public planning meeting process for amending various urban zones and taking a look at those provisions that were presented to the committee last month. The only other thing I wanted to bring up under staff updates is it seems like a timely time of the year, for lack of a better term. Is there any training that the committee is looking for in 2025? I know we've sent you to some workshops. There's webinars out there. There's things available, and I'm just wondering from planning department if there's anything our committee is looking for in terms of training with a very fast changing pace of the Planning Act over the last couple of years.
Myself personally, that's part of the frustration with taking any training. It's changing so quickly that while you would be participating in the seminar, something else is changing. And me personally, I think that we have good representation and advice from staff and from the county. I'm comfortable with the way things are, that we can call on our own independently to get clarification, where sometimes a group setting is not always conducive to learning, is my personal opinion. Roxanne?
Yeah, there are some things that I, would like some training on. I'm just not quite sure what that is yet.
Sure. And if any member wants to have a discussion with me, just a one-on-one discussion, we can have that. I'm open to have that discussion too. And I kind of have a brief overview of, what's out there and for elected officials and for committee members. So we can talk individually about that as well.
Jack? You're okay with the way it is? Okay. Peter, in terms of planning? Oh, wait, I take back my comment.
Funny enough, I was just looking for training opportunities in New York City the other day. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen though.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori, anything from you? Nope. Okay, motion to adjourn. Roxanne, seconded by Jack. All those in favor? The meeting is adjourned at 10:15.